think I can relate to the imposter syndrome because as much as I've done in my career and like I've lived in different countries and studied in different places, and I look at my CV and I'm like, yeah, I've achieved those things, and there's a confidence that comes with doing your job. Sometimes I still sit in the boardroom and think of myself as a buck-toothed, like 13-year-old, like, you know, from school who like doesn't really get things right, and it's hard to kind of be, no, that is my CV, that's who I am. I know what I have to get to the table, and I'm not that little girl coming and sitting here, but I do get haunted by that, whether that's, I think people have spoken about the lies that come into your head, and I think that's one of the lies, not feeling worthy despite being absolutely competent to be there, being there for a reason and having a lot to bring to the table. And while I'm aware of that, there is that little girl in the back saying, how did you get here? What is going on? I think there are practical things that you can do. So I'm having to learn them, and I'm going to go for more training. Part of the practical things, I think there's a lot of things for women out there, and a lot of people want to help women step into boardroom. It's a big thing now. So having kind of coaching about how you present yourself, making sure you have gravitas in the boardroom, and all those practical tips then help with the fact that, okay, I'm not naturally, this is a situation that's not natural for me, but I can navigate it through the tips and the tricks that I've learned. There's probably always going to be that fear of the nagging voice, but you can choose to kind of shut that off and practically arm yourself with an ability to communicate, to bring forward the things that I've learned and have done, and also just to know that, you know, I have a right to be there. I bring something different to the table. Sometimes imposter syndrome comes from not looking maybe like the rest of the boardroom would look. So if a boardroom filled with a certain type of person, then you might feel like an imposter because you don't replicate what's around the table. And knowing that I bring something completely different. There are many ways to get to the centre of the table, and I'll bring another way. And that's actually a strength that I can bring to a boardroom rather than being something to hide away or shy away from. So I guess, the practical of learning how to communicate on that level, and then also knowing that I am different, but that brings something else to the table as well.
So owning who we are. Imposter syndrome is so tied into the self-esteem, which is why I've chosen for the imposter syndrome theme to be the one that follows directly after self-esteem, because it's so tied in. Helen, as Camille was talking, it made me think about how in early 2018 you had a promotion in your workplace, and I know for you there was that slight element of why me, like how and yet for each of us we can see how you would be so perfect for that role. Can you?
So I think that also came with confidence, and I mean, like you say, this promotion came, and I still had to apply for it, but I wasn't even going to apply for it, and it basically had been created for me, the role. And so when after a few days I hadn't gone into my head teacher's office to apply for it, she had to come to me and say, you need to apply for this. And it was only then when she listed every quality that I had that that she had created the job for, I realised, wow, I just again didn't feel, I would be good enough, or it was the feeling of somebody else could do it better, and so, and then by going for it and by having to apply for it, and then it's really made me put all those skills into practical use, and it's maybe giving me that confidence again, and made me realise, this is the person who I am, and this is these are my talents. And so.
I was telling you, I recently produced a music video for Kylie Minogue, and it was great. We shot it in Paris, and we had a really fast turnaround, so it came out quite quickly, and often you can wait a while for things to be released. And I put it on social media, and when everyone was saying, oh wow, this is amazing, I found myself saying, so are you, and I don't even know why I was doing it really, when I sat back and thought about it, I was like, why can't I just say thank
you.
you? I think sometimes when you're a high achiever, or you have taken steps of faith, and I mean, there's been times when I've had like no income and zero faith in me other than from me, and maybe like one or two other people who were like, we don't know how you're going to get there, but we're going to support you anyway. And now, so to be in a place where, you know, I can read my own biography, a bit like you were saying actually, kind of, I have done all of this stuff. And you know, I was picked as one of the UK's top young producers by the Society of London Theatre, which runs the West End. You know, from there I've been producing things that have gone all over the world, and still I can be like, but you're so great, and not own that, and just diminish it. And I think it reminded me of, as well, and something I just wanted to touch on in case it resonates with anyone here or anybody watching, about self-sabotage. Because I think actually part of being an imposter is the ways that we hold ourselves back, and the ways that we will actually sabotage our own success or opportunities because we don't want to step on someone else's toes or upset somebody else. And like, growing up in a family with a lot of you know, anger and jealousy, I got a scholarship and I went to a private school, but you know, I studied for that scholarship and nobody like made it happen for me. And I grew up with a lot of this kind of, oh, you think you're so great, you think you're better than us, oh, look at you, you think you're just like, you know, and those voices stay with you. We talk about internalizing voices. So I think that part of, I mean, again, I don't know if you've seen the other episode where we're talking about therapy. And, you know, for me, I think part of me going through therapy was, you know, watching those, you observe those points earlier in yourself. For me, I will observe that behaviour quicker than before. I might get quite a long way down the road of that, and just own it and feeling more comfortable in myself. And I think now I'm in a place where I feel more confident, but even still, I was at the Olivier Awards recently and I was talking to a famous playwright, and I literally had to stand there and tell myself, you deserve, and this is true, I was actually mentally standing there saying, you deserve to be in this conversation, you deserve to be in this conversation, because part of me was like, what am I doing here in like my background and my head. So I think it's about maybe, you know, preparing yourself before you go into those situations to have those emotional structures already in place, to know how you're going to talk to yourself or about yourself or to operate in those arenas.
It's brilliant. Like when I didn't know about the imposter syndrome. What I'm learning, I think what we're all learning together. Certainly, one of the other days of filming when we were talking about the imposter syndrome, and the girls were like, now that I'm aware of this, I'm going to be so much more aware of it moving forward, and that's why we're bringing it to light, you know. But each of you have talked about the practical and how, by implementing these practical strategies, whether it be when you move to London, whether it's in the boardroom, or now that you have been listed the qualities that you do have, it's that practice of that kind of helps combat the lie, would you say? Yeah. Do you agree?
Next time on the 7 series.
And as soon as you say, oh, I'm a children's TV presenter, they think that then somehow that you're some person who wakes up out of a Jack in the Box, covered in primary colours, and it's always nice to your kids. And it's just not true. And so it's easier to not say it, because there is this, that, you know, then you have to live up to it.
Yeah.
You know, if as soon as somebody knows that, you're on.